In 1981, when I became aware of this family connection, only one of his 4 sons, and he also had 1 daughter, was alive. His name is Barney. And we began corresponding in 1983 after I went to California to meet him. And I have some of his letters. This is actually an original. It was written in 1983, although it's not dated here, but I know that to be a fact. And I'll pass this around if you'd like to take a look at this as well. He was a very, very proud man, as was his father. And one of the things that I found out during the research is that my great-great-grandfather, my great-grandfather, Gersh Illions-Illionsky in those days, was a bugler in the Russian army. And in the cavalry, actually. Cavalry, horses, right? And one of his sons, Marcus's brothers, I believe, was a horse dealer. So there are horses way back. As I mentioned, Marcus was a very, very proud man. This is a picture of him on his horse Bob on Ocean Avenue, where he would ride every day. And I'll pass this one around the other way. Barney was in charge of painting the animals. He was an expert at gold leafing the manes and some of the strappings around the horses, which is a very difficult thing to do. You have these sheets of ultra thin gold leaf. Thank you, gold leaf. And you have to take it out with some sort of tool and press it right on and around, and it's excruciatingly painful to try to do this. I saw it demonstrated because there's a huge collector out in California that I had the great privilege of meeting several years ago in California, in LA. Their names are Roland and Joe Summit. And somewhere here I have some photos that they were so generous to give me. If I can find them, I'll show you in a minute. But I think they're probably in the back. But they have, I think, 70 some odd Carousel horses that they have mostly restored themselves. And Barney, who also lived in Los Angeles, had taught him how to do the gold leafing and had told him what kind of paints to make them as authentic as possible. And so the Rolands have been a little bit of a resource here also. They've been very generous with sending pictures of Pinky. It's the horse that I had chosen and hoped to work on, but I was not able to continue doing it for various reasons. And I was also really lousy at carving, so I didn't want to ruin the horses. No disrespect to Walter Pease, who's the head carver here. He sure tried. How do you round the belly? You just do it. Just imagine it and do it. And I kind of did it, but when I got to the strappings, I carved out too much and it had to be refilled, and I felt awful. But anyway, it's a lot of fun, and the humor around here is just phenomenal, and the spirit. And I hope it doesn't discourage anyone. It's just that I'm not good at it. I also have a photo here of the shop. It's a fairly well-known photo for anyone who's done any research into carousels. This is Marcus over here in the foreground. In the back, you'll see a whole bunch of horses' heads. Only Marcus would do the heads. His 4 sons worked in the shop. Some of them worked on the mechanisms for the carousel itself. Marcus also, I'm trying to locate the patent, but had patented some tools that he created and designed. I also heard that he was such an expert carver that when he wanted to round something like this, he could go like this, and it would be exactly as he wanted. It's really hard to do, to go backwards. And he could carve as well with his left hand as with his right hand. He was just a master. I can also tell you that, here are those photos. They're absolutely gorgeous. Pinky is over here. It's not a very good color, but you can see the beauty of the design and the strappings. And it's gold and pink. You know, a beautiful, see, I kind of like pink. And it's actually right now at a doctor's office helping raise money for cancer patients.
We have a picture of the calendar if you want.
Yeah, it's pink, you know, with the pink ribbons for cancer, for breast cancer, and they've raised so far, I believe, $1,000, which will enable 1,000 cancer patients to ride a horse when the carousel is done. These are just a few of the many horses that they have collected and restored.
I'll pass this around, Jim.
And also here are several of the carousels that are still in existence today. Barney his great love was painting, and he did a lot of things other than the carousels. When he passed away in May, just a week or so before my son was born, May 1988, and he was well into his 80s. And this is one of just a sketch that he did, just with pen and ink or whatever brush strokes. He would just practice over and over and over, and I have hundreds of these, which I am donating to Berkshire Carousel for sale. And if anyone's interested, they should talk to Maria. So this is one of the horses. We have many of them. They're all unique and different, and they're just stampeding steeds that are just really, you can see the action. Pardon me?
Is that 8E?
Yes, it's with, I'm sure, with a brush. You can see the brush strokes. He also loved Chinese scenes, and so I have lots and lots of those, and flowers, and he also was a master calligrapher of Chinese letters. I have many of those as well. I have an entire portfolio that is here. Some of them have his own unique Chinese stamp of his name. I don't know quite what it means. I should find that out. It wouldn't be that difficult to find out. And I also brought with me some posters. I have several of them of the carousels, of one of the carousels. That was made many years ago. And these are also for sale, and you can talk to Maria about that as well. The last thing I want to just mention before I take any questions is that there was an exhibit several years ago in Manhattan at the American Museum of Folk Art.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was also in upstate New York.
It was also in Cooperstown.
Oh, was it? I know it was going to travel. And it's got magnificent synagogue art as well as the carousels. And Marcus did a fair amount of that as well, and you can see some of them in here. If you go to the index, you can see whatever under Illions, which is like millions without the M, or with inflation, billions without the B. And it's just a magnificent book with a lot of history in it as well. So, are there any questions?
When did the carousels, how old are they?
Oh, that's a great question. He came to this country in 1888, and Marcus, and he apprenticed under several other carvers. And I believe he was brought here by Frank Bostock, who was an impresario and an amusement park creator. And the reason he was brought, he was 17 years old when he came, because they had a commission that hadn't been completed on time, and he needed several expert carvers to finish the commission on the boat, which was waylaid in the storm. And so he was doing that, and they also had live animals for some of the exhibits at the amusement park that was being built. And so there were lions and tigers and other kind of exotic animals, and he would feed the animals in order to be able to touch them and have just feel the musculature and the dimensions. And he was able to do this, go into the cages and just handle the animals like this. He started his own, so glad you asked that. He started his own his own company, Carousel Carving Company, in near the turn of the century. And he originally, one of the people he worked for before he did that was Mangles, and a lot of the horses in here. This is one of the Carousel catalogs, and I'm sure it has the date in here. It says he was established, this is actually Mangles, 1880 and incorporated in 1908. This was not, he left him before 1908. And this is a copy which is in my bank vault of the very first catalog of M.C. Illions' own Carousel Works Company. This was in, it says established in 1892. So I copied these, but the original is very, very frayed, and it's stitched together with string, that's almost gone. So I have that there, but there's just, it's an amazing trove. And he carved well into the 1920s. And when commissions were scarce, he had a traveling, what was considered a mobile carousel, and he would take it through the south and wherever in the north, and he would travel with the circus and have this as one of the rides, and just to make a little extra money. Sometimes the sons went on the road, or just he and his son. In fact, Ruth Pease told me that she was 3 years old. She was born on the road during one of these trips. And she, because the carnival barkers were so dishonest and not very palatable people, Marcus preferred to travel with the workers, the hands, and most of them were black. And they actually, when they were in the South, they were threatened. He was threatened for traveling with them, and when they saw his Masonic ring, the man who was in charge of this gang was a Mason and let him go. But they also traveled with the Freaks. In fact, if you know the movie from the 1930s, I think, called Freaks, many of those freaks featured in that movie, which was very controversial for exploitation and other things, were the very same freaks that she grew up knowing when she was 3 and up, like 3 till 5. And just fascinating. There's just story after story I could tell. But the Depression pretty much wiped him out. I don't think he carved much at all after the Depression. He was doing mostly restoration work until he passed away. And I have his a copy of the obituary, August 14th, 1949. And he died pretty broke. It's very sad. Any other questions?